So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a first for me because I actually have two guests on the channel this week. I have US record label Bad Habit, and I have the founders with me, Matthew Adesuyan and Kirk Harding. How are you, fellas?
Good to be here. Thank you.
Doing well,
Everything's
man. Doing
good.
well.
Yeah, no, so Kirk was just telling me you had like a overnight 24-hour session. Couple of
Yeah,
weeks in the studio,
I mean,
man.
yeah, that's life with Burna, man. We just in the studio every day. So it's been actually last night was early. We got home at 7 a.m. It's usually been like 9 or 10 a.m., which is
That
and then
kind of feels like when I go to like a West Indian party and they finish up at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's just like, you haven't even got to your bed yet.
yeah, no, it's pretty wild. And we've been working on Dean Street. So walking outside every morning and seeing construction workers and everybody going to work, and I'm walking back to my hotel to go pass out is pretty. There's something else.
It feels different, especially now. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
how is this year been for you guys in general, considering all the madness that's going on? Because Kirk, you were just telling me before we got on camera that you've been back and forth, and you managed just to get here before lockdown happened again.
Yeah, I mean, for us this year, because we ordinarily travel a lot. Matthew and I normally here every couple of months, if not at the same time. Definitely, with Matthew living in LA and me in New York, we kind of see more. I see more of Matthew in London probably than I do in New York or LA at this point. So it's like this year, because it grounded us for at least the first kind of half of the year. Um, it brought a really intense focus into what we do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because all we could do was kind of our artists are all sitting down wanting to work and put music out because they can't tour, and everybody had projects, and I think we've put out, I think at last count, so like maybe 10 projects this year or something with our little crew of 7 people. There's been a Neighborhood album, a Burna album, a IDK, a couple of things he's put out. Everybody's been putting Health put something out. Like everybody's been working, you know what I mean? And it continues. Like we've got albums from IDK and Yeek and an EP from UMI kicking off top of next year. So I think it's brought an incredible amount of focus, because we would have been traveling ordinarily, you know what I mean? But we've been sitting there really hyper focused on what we could do as a label.
So you
And
have
how
more
we could
time in,
build.
like, developing your artists even further, because obviously you got nowhere to go at the moment.
Yeah. And also from an A&R perspective, because we're very focused on the label side of the company. We've got 3 things. We've got three or 4 things we've got paperwork out to right now that we're trying to sign as well. So from an A&R perspective, it's been really intense as well. So I think this year, I think for us, it's been great focus, but really intense.
So yeah, no, it's because obviously, like, with everything going on in the world right now, you have a lot more to focus on. So
Yeah.
let's take it into focus so we know who you guys are. So with Bad Habit being, is it a joint venture label with Atlantic Records, or are you fully independent as a
Yeah.
label?
Joint venture with Atlantic.
Okay,
Joint venture, yeah.
okay, and then you focus on like 3 facets, being the label, the management, and the publishing. Is that still the case of how you guys run Bad Habit as a label?
Yeah, we're in the midst of changing our publishing partners right now. We're finalizing a deal with another major. We were at Sony ATV, and the only signing that we had over there was Dylan Brady from 100 Gex. We signed him quite a few years ago. But once again, with what's happened this year, we've got at least 1 or 2 other signings coming on board as we ink that new deal.
Okay.
So yeah, no, the three facets are alive and well. And the management company, we've brought in a lot of people there to kind of help on the day-to-day side. So Matthew and I could really steer a lot of our focus to the label as well.
Okay. So what made you guys decide that you wanted to run and make a record label? Because I saw on your Facebook that you quote are the engine for giving a fuck. So I mean that was a pretty like simple way to put it, and because obviously it sounds like you guys are really like invested in your talent. So what made you decide that you wanted to create a record label and make it your own?
kind of didn't want a label in the beginning. Craig
Oh,
Kalman
really?
kind of hunted us. No, because when you think about it, we signed Burna almost 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and four or 5 years ago when we started to set up the idea of the label. I mean, it was always a dream for me as a kid, and I think it was for Matthew too. But I think at that time, nobody really wanted a label because the industry was in such a bad place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of trying to get into publishing or leaving the industry completely and go to tech or something. So when Craig and Julie offered us the label, it's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, sure, why not? You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like we weren't as gung ho about it. You know what I mean? But now it's like as we've started developing it, it's real, and as the industry streaming is kind of reared up, and it's become a lot more of our focus. But you know, we weren't really even that energized by it in the beginning. You know,
and
it was
then
just another arm of the management company at the time. You know.
Okay, and then how about the views on your side, Matthew? Like, you know, what made you decide that you wanted to work with Kirk as far as like being founders of a label?
I mean, working with Kirk kind of became like a natural fit. So I was originally the creative director for the neighborhood, and at that time I was also just developing stuff on my own. Working in music was something I always was gonna do from a young age. So when I found a couple of things and I had something that was really working, and I found this kid named Nash. He had a song called "I Hate You, I Love You." Started to pop off. I went to Kirk and I'm like, I'm not a corporate guy. I'm not dealing with these labels. That's just not my thing. Like, I'm good with artists. I'm good with developing. I'm good with creating the brand, and like I'm in the streets. That's where I'm comfortable. So I was like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. I got to do it with you. Like you're the only person I trust. Like I've gone through it. Like I'm born and raised in LA. I've been around all these industry dudes since I was a young age. So working with Kirk was a choice, not a force or being hired or some shit like that. It was somebody that I actually looked up to and I respected, and we just are on the same page on so many different levels. And the experience he has with, I think, with my mentality and understanding and taste, and his taste as well. It was a perfect fit.
Yeah. How long have you guys known each other for now?
Well, we first met 8 years ago.
Okay.
When he first started managing the neighborhood, but at that time it was just like over emails because he was in New York and the neighborhood was in LA, and we were doing like their first photo shoots for the album for "I Love You," and then like the first like parties for the album around Sweater Weather and all that kind of stuff. So I just that was just like the early phase of it. But then we got really close over the Black and White mixtape, which was like the first rock band to do a Gangsta Grillz album, which the neighborhood had DJ Drama and DJ Don Cannon, host their mixtape, and that was Kirk was mostly A&Ring it, and I did a lot of creative and helped with some A&R on that. But after that, we were pretty much locked in because we had to go into the Wiped Out album for the neighborhood, and that that was like that's when I went like 24/7. My whole life was dedicated to that shit, and same with him. So at that point, we were pretty much locked in and started building. So that was about 5 years ago is when we really formed Bad Habit, and
I'm actually
we're in the trenches about it.
Actually, that album came out 5 years ago on Halloween. So
it's 5 years. You know? And there's a song on it right now that just went top 100 on Spotify. It's just rearing its head back up. So it's funny to see that something we worked on so long ago has so much value now.
Yeah, no, congratulations on that. Now, from a media standpoint, as a journalist, / media owner, like I've been running Media Spotlight UK, the channel, for about 8 years, the YouTube channel, and I've seen so many. I've seen so many like record labels, as far as like press day setups, because that's kind of what my field is doing interviews with artists, ones that are emerging as well as established talent. And obviously from what I've got exposed to and understood, there's, through record labels, there's ways of marketing, getting songs played on radio, obviously press day events to get more exposure. But on the flip side, I know there's interviews with artists that I've spoken with that a record label hasn't worked for them. They've either gone the independent route or they've gone to another record label and it suited them. How, in your case, guys, like with the talent that you work with, obviously, IDK, UMI, like PA Salou, some of the names, Burna Boy. How have you got those artists to kind of, stick with you guys and, give them the confidence that you are the guys that, to stick with?
You want me to answer that, Kirk?
I think that I'll do the first part. You can do the second part.
Yeah.
But
See, this is where the partnership comes in.
I think they're just one. Yeah, no. I just think I think they identify in us that we're kind of one of them in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Like, we're here, we believe for the label, something that I've always fallen into, I guess, or my belief system has always been, I always wanted to work with the coolest artists on major labels. I was never really an indie label guy. You know what I mean? So when you think of, like, there's a lot of stuff that I developed and broke in New Zealand before I left for the States in 99, but and then I went to work at Loud Records, which was the coolest label within the BMG RCA system at the time, and then signed and developed Kid Cudi, who I thought, was at the time a very edgy artist for a major label, and that was even pre Kanye getting involved. You know what I mean? So, and helping out Amy Winehouse internationally early on, and identifying that before her second album came out. So it's like, I just think we build a lot of trust with these people. They become part of a family. We're very quick to, UMI will work with the neighborhood, or Yeek will tour with UMI, or Burna will collaborate with Goody Grace. Like, it's very much we foster a very familial vibe with our roster, and everybody knows each other. And I think that, and we're there, we work, and we're there every day, and we show up, and we take it really seriously,
Yeah, I agree with Kirk. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I think the artists are attracted to the community we've built, and that community is a direct reflection on our tastes and our belief system and on our passion. Like, we don't work with anybody we don't want to go 100% for. So I think when artists see that, and they see the artists that we're working with and the level that we work with them on, and the teams that we put around them, and the execution and the growth, and I think they just fuck with that. Like, we're not gonna we don't create cookie cutter systems for artists. Right. You know what I'm saying? What we do is we find out what their vision is, and what their plan is for themselves, and where they see themselves, and then we plug in, and we do what we got to do to get them there. And obviously we give our guidance and our experience and our expertise, or just our opinion, where it feels fit. But the number one thing is finding artists with extreme vision, and believing in that vision. And once we believe in that, you got us. And I think the other side of it is, once they believe in our vision, we got them as well. So I think that's where the relationship is at.
So it really sounds like it's like a family unit. Like, I mean, I know there's record labels that I've seen that, there's connections with artists, but it sounds like, having been experienced and, working with different artists in the past, and then obviously forming your label, you came to the understanding that, you guys are ready to put your all into any artist that is willing to put their all in.
100%. I mean, it has to, and it starts with them, right? But yeah, I think that we've developed a reputation that's only come with time, which is why we haven't even announced the label until now, really, because past is precedent, right? So we've developed a reputation whereby we haven't chased any kind of trend artists. There was a while that we could have signed a bunch of rappers with tattoos on their faces that were emerging, and now there's a lot of people getting signed off of TikTok, and we kind of we stay away from chasing down trends like that. We're very we have a reputation for building things that are kind of that fit between that fall between the cracks, but in time they emerge as kind of because they're so individual in that way, in their own way, that they become kind of the new leaders of their field. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So nobody was trying to sign Burna 4 years ago. Certainly not in the US, and he only had a few conversations here. And that might sound insane now, but it's the truth. If you go way back in my history, no one was trying to sign Akon, and he sounded like an anomaly back then because nobody was singing tough shit over hip hop breaks or R&B. You know what I mean? Like no one was singing that tough shit. So he was. It sounds, when you look back now, it sounds like that he's the norm. But it's like all of these artists. Yeah. There was what the neighborhood were doing in the beginning was very different, and so. We've developed that reputation, I think, with a lot, especially when we talk to a lot of our media partners at Apple or Spotify or whatever. They know, like, if you talk to the guys at Spotify, that they're like, most of the Lauren playlist is filled with stuff that you guys manage. You have half of the playlist. You know what I mean? So that's and that playlist is built around artists that don't have anywhere else that fit at Spotify. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the reputation that we've developed.
Okay, and I appreciate that you guys are honest in terms of that, because obviously there has been talks like in the past of like record labels that work with artists, and then like we was excuse me, what we were talking about earlier in terms of artists like that are not comfortable with the record label and then having to jump ship to somewhere else or go independent, but. You've held your reputation as being consistent with your artists, being a family to them, as well as like sharing both your visions that gain success from both ends.
Yeah, I think my dad has a saying. He says stay in your lane.
Yeah,
and that's what we do. We just stay in our lane. Like we're not, like Kirk says, we're not going to TikTok, or we're not going to SoundCloud trying to get some rapper from South Florida just because it's popping off right now. Like. We know what we like, and we know what we believe in, and we know what will like get us to wake up in the fucking morning to work. And it's not somebody doing shit. You know what I'm saying?
One of those thoughts.
Yeah, like that's just not it for us. Like, we want the things that are gonna change culture and push culture forward. And something that Kirk was talking about is like we like artists that are left of center but pull the center to their left. And like Billie Eilish to me is like one of the, if there was an artist that we could have worked with, or that, does things in the world that we believe in, like I think she did a great job of like pulling pop music so far left from whatever the fuck they thought it was. And I think that's amazing. And, one of her biggest idols is Jesse and the Neighborhood. And they, I think, are the beginners of that whole push of pushing alternative and pop music to a place that it wasn't at before, in terms of mixing hip hop and R&B and rock and all these different sounds, and putting it in one place. And I think that's why their music resonates now, where they have a single from 8 years ago that's now going top 50 on Spotify. They have a single from 5 years ago that's going top 60 on Spotify. And that's the last week. And they're doing their best numbers streaming last week, not 5 or 8 years ago. So I think that's the kind of artist we're trying to work with, not somebody that's going to do a trend today and then 3 months you're gonna say, what was that trend again? Or who was that? Nobody gives a shit about that. We don't give a shit about that. Like Burna Boy in 50 years, I know they're gonna be talking about Burna Boy, and that's what's important to us. And that's and I think that's, and the family vibes. That's 100%. We're all family. My parents will be at all the shows, whether I'm not there or not. Kirk's family will be at all the shows, whether he's there or not. And our families are connected with artist families as well. So. Yes, family. Like
that's commitment, man, for sure, man. I love that. I love that. I mean, speaking of the African giant Burna Boy, obviously, speaking of longevity as well. Arguably, the biggest talent on the roster. Right now, he's doing so well for himself. I mean, take me back to when you guys first discovered him and how it got to be that he would work with you guys on the roster. Like, how did those conversations come?
The first time I heard Burna was on it was like a down-tempo R&B playlist suggested by listening to Party Next Door on Spotify. So it was Pre-Me was on the playlist. And then I think maybe like 1 or 2, I heard it, saved it, didn't think too much of it. Then 1 or 2 weeks later, one of our A&Rs, as our employee, flagged it as well, put the YouTube link to the video. So then I started going through all his videos, and I realized he's Nigerian. My dad's from Ondo State, Nigeria, so I'm half Yoruba. So then automatically I was like, what, this is fucking like, because I grew up on, I knew Wiz and Two-Face and David and all that stuff. Like, I grew up on that. So, like, that to me felt like, it always felt like it was just built for Nigeria, or just like the pop side of Nigeria. I never really, like, thought about how it would cross over. But with him, he would, like, you go through his catalog from Like to Party to Hallelujah to Premium. All of a sudden, you're just like, this guy can do whatever the fuck he really feels like, is what it sounded like. So then we reached out, and it just so happened that he had been on a 6-year hiatus from being in London. So he was here from about the age of 15 to 21, went to high school here, did some college here, and hadn't been here for 6 years, and was in Nigeria. And that's when he built his career from 2010 to 2016. And he came back out here to do his homecoming show in the UK at the Apollo. Sold out, like 5,000 cap, sold out quickly, probably more than 5,000 people there. And we came in the day after that show, and we met him the day after that.
We came in for other.
Yeah, we had another artist doing BBC One Love Lounge.
Yeah, so just so happened that they were here at the same time. We were already interested, and we had reached out, and we set up a meeting, and we met with them, and I think that had a few UK label meetings at that point, but nothing seemed serious, and we were serious, you know, and we brought a very global picture to the table, you know, and also it's like, I was going to answer your previous question by using this example, but it's kind of like when you start with roots of a tree, when you start with the neighborhood, and then you can attract other talent, either directly from them, friends of theirs, or like-minded artists because they're fans of that act, and then you get somebody else, and then they're fans of that act, and so on and so on. Burna was open-minded enough to kind of look at what we'd been working on, and he was a fan of it as well, rather than just not seeing anything like himself there. He was like, these guys know how to do this. So we're very fortunate in the fact that he could do that. But and now that we've worked with him, that kind of attracts IDK and Parsaloo and the future signings that we're looking at. And so that all these kind of everything kind of splinters off, like, and we're still working with Ralph Castelli and Jenny Green, who are looking at UMI and Yeek and Neighborhood as the sole reason why they want to work with us and what we've done with them. So as we progress, that precedent's in play. But why I bring it up now is because I was able to have a conversation with them about being at ground zero for Akon at the time, and breaking Akon globally and breaking an African artist out of America, and a lot of the lessons learned from there. And there was a lot of faith put into me, I think, and also myself and Matthew, because of the fact that I'd done that was in my past. You know what I mean?
So it sounds like it's the law of attraction, really. Like, you know, Burna Boy, you know, and then obviously, you know, like-minded artist thing starts coming in, like, you know, off the back of, you know, success of Burna Boy, and, you know, people seeing that, oh yeah, they're taking him very, very seriously. And I mean, how did you guys foresee the success, like the global success that we see Burna Boy now at this current time? Did you foresee it when you guys first met him?
Yeah, that was the whole conversation, honestly. Like the first 24 hours with him, I mean, we sat down at 8:05 in Peckham, and he walks in and everybody went nuts. Like, nuts. Like the whole restaurant went nuts. And then we walk back out, and he goes, "You smoke?" I say, "Yeah, of course. Let's go." We ended up smoking for 2.5 hours in a little ass car, and he just played me all the songs that he'd been working on at the time, which was like probably 30, 40 songs, which we ended up whittling down into Outside. And I mean,
while I was inside,
he was talking to Nami,
to his mother, and getting to know his mother well. So and then going to the studio and watching him create 6 or 7 songs in front of us at the studio that night. Wow, it was very apparent. It was very apparent that, which is why we didn't really want to sign anyone to the label at first, because that we knew we had a star at the time, and we didn't want our focus to be diminished at all, or divided, because it was apparent to us that this guy was already a star, and we had to make him a star everywhere else.
And obviously where he is now, I mean, you guys are to thank for that. Do you know what I mean? In terms of the building of his success, man. And
the whole team,
the
whole team, yeah.
There's people in Nigeria, there's people in London, there's people in America. It was a team. It was a team effort. We were just able to identify it and force people who wouldn't normally make the investment to make the investment.
Yeah. And then so you were the initial guys that set it off.
Yeah. And we just made sure that we worked with the right team.
Globally to make it happen. We've had a steady hand along with his manager and management team. We've had a steady hand on it all the way through. It wasn't just setting it off, but we had partners in Craig and Julie at Atlantic that believed in us and Burna, and every step were able
of the way
continue to fund it. You know,
and then
they never let up.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And like I said, the success is very, very apparent for, obviously the whole team has got him to a position where he is now. I mean, obviously you said that you didn't want to diminish any sort of focus with other artists until, obviously you got artists now like PA Salou, like IDK, UMI, obviously now with those guys there's a focus as well. What are we expecting as far as those type of guys, the build up, and then what do you foresee as far as their successes, because they're doing well for themselves as well?
Well, I mean, IDK and UMI are both on the management side, and I think they're both stars in their own right, and I think they just continue to grow every step that we make with them. They both have labels behind them. IDK has Warner, and RCA, Keep Cool, have UMI, and they believe to the umpteenth power in the artist. So we have great partners with them as well. But Pa is somebody we're working with on the label, and there's going to be a bunch of other acts that we work with on the label, and I think Matthew could probably give you the kind of ideology behind the label. But I think when you look at the management company, and you look at the label, because IDK came to us primarily because of the neighborhood. He was really close friends with Jesse in the neighborhood, and Jesse actually recommended that he come work with us. So, but when we were working Burna at the time, and he got to see that at the same time. So I think both of those two acts influence his decision to work with us, stay with us, build with us. But with Pa and the new round of stuff that we're signing at this point, I think that we're going to see intense amount of focus come from Atlantic and from the label side, in the same way that Burna got that focus in the beginning, and we very much have our mindset on, we spend all of our time is spent LA, New York, London, and Lagos, Africa. So that's what we have to offer from an A&R perspective, from a marketing perspective, from a global launch perspective. I was 8 years senior VP of International Universal, a very international mindset. So the label has a very international mindset,
Yeah. I mean, I think as like Kirk was saying, in terms of the brands around what we do, you kind of explained the management side pretty well. I think if you were to go to the Lorem playlist or any of the Left of Center playlists right now on any DSP, we probably have a large majority of the songs on there between our artists, whether it's UMI or Yeek or Goody or Janie Green now. Ralph Costelli is one of those artists that happened to do well on TikTok as well by himself. And I think that was built off of the back of the neighborhood. Our management, Kirk been managing the neighborhood for over 8 years, and I've been there to help along the way. And that is a great representation of what our management side is. And if you look at our label obviously started off on the back of Burna. And through these last 4 years, I think we've been able to identify what our label represents to the world. And we kind of want to, we are going to be the new face of diaspora worldwide. We're showcasing so many different talents from the new Black world that maybe didn't have a voice before, or they didn't have the same confidence in their culture as they did before. And it's because of artists like Burna that they now believe in, saying I'm from the Congo, or I'm from Ghana, or I'm from Barbados, I'm from Trinidad, or maybe I'm a punk rocker from Houston, and I'm from the Third Ward, same place that's, Slim Thug or, Bun B and all them are from. So to be able to identify these artists and these voices and help reshape how the diaspora looks at themselves and influences the next wave of culture is really important for the label and important for what we're doing. And I think people will see it in our upcoming signings. People will see it in the signings we have now between Koji, Pa, and Burna on the label. Pa will tell you that I'm African first. I'm born in Britain, and I love Coventry, and his project is called is based around his growing up in Coventry, but as an African and as a person who had to identify themselves and their soil and their understanding of self in a different land, and that's happening to so many people around the world. And that's happening to so many Black people around the world. And it's amazing for us to be a part of that. And it's amazing for us to be a platform for that. And, obviously we'll build from there, but I think identifying what our brand represents as a label currently and what we're going to build and what people will see, that's what we're doing on the label side right now. And we're really excited about it. And what we're doing on the management side has been something that's become consistent for us over the last couple of years. And it's a business that I think we understand well. And it's been fun for us to build, like I said, we like to build brands and we like to build up concepts and to be able to identify this stuff for ourselves and then make it flourish. It's been a fun process.
Well, guys, I mean, I've had so much fun, understanding, as an insight to how a label is run, especially the family aspect and, what you guys look for as far as, artist vision, as far as your vision. So, I mean, just to end off really, you guys have offices in Africa and the States. Do you have an office in London as well?
We don't have no office.
We don't have an office anywhere.
That's the one thing we swore we'd never do.
Okay.
British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, American Airlines, Delta. Those are our offices. You know what I'm saying? It's COVID season. You'll catch me on a plane still. You'll catch Kirk on a plane still. So that's our office. Our office is face to face with our artists.
Okay.
We don't need to be in a box or a cubicle or. So
it's not like a corporate setting. It's kind of whether it be like a bar or a cafe or something like that's.
Yeah, it's like our mission says. It's wherever our cell phone is where our office is. You know what I'm saying?
And obviously with the power of Zoom chats and FaceTime and everything, obviously there's more communication that can be made now.
Quarantine made
we're going to see more. We're going to see a lot more of that anyway. That's what's happening right now, right? So
for sure.
I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve there. But we look at Cash Money, you've never had an office. You know what I mean? Or Tim and Danny from Stellar Songs. They only just recently set up a studio / office in LA. They've been doing it a lot longer than we have. So once we feel like we're at that level that we can have one of the nicest studios in LA with our office attached to it, then what's the or London or Lagos or wherever we decide that place is going to be, then we might take a look at it. But we don't see any reason for that right now. Everyone that works for us works from home, and we're doing okay that way. So long may it continue.
Oh, well, may the success of your label continue. Guys, thank you so much for being the first two guests on my show. That's first of all as a Zoom chat, because I've had to really set this all up prior, and then now you got the VIP treatment of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And also what's coming up next for you guys? I mean, 2021 is around the corner. Obviously, you're still doing communications via Zoom with your artists. What are you looking towards next at this stage with the label?
Just the growth. We're very excited about the 3 or 4 things that we have on the table right now. We're very excited about the way the year's starting. This year has gone really well for us, and if you combine that with artists being able to tour again, next year, as well as really exciting projects from UMI, IDK, and IDK kicking in the door for the beginning of next year.
Goody Grace as well.
Goody Grace as well. Yeah, it's like we've got the momentum. People are just, all of our artists are busy. They're active. They're making music, and we kind of want to be there to enjoy the ride with them, because it's very exciting. And when you look at previous years to this year, it's been a really huge jump for us in terms of output, and I think next year will be an equally momentous jump again, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, we're here to apply pressure.
Well, the pressure's going to be applied. I can feel it already, man. Well, guys, thank you again for joining me. If you can tell our audience where they can find you, as far as the label, like any details they could find. I mean, I see that you guys have social medias as well. Like, you know, plug away. Like, the floor is yours.
They could just look up at our OUR Bad Habit and ourbadhabit.com. You find the whole community, the whole family. You find us. Everybody's there.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, fellas. And you know, with Lockdown 2 in the works, like, may you continue to flourish with the label through communications of Zoom and other features that we have technologically now. So
you as well, man. You as well. Shout out to my office.
Hey, listen, my office right now is my living room. You know what I mean? You see literally everything, you know? So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, and hope to catch up with you in the future. And then hopefully we can do a face-to-face in the future as well, if all clears up. So, yeah, man. Thank you guys for your time, man.
Yeah, brother. You too.
All right.
You too.
Take care, guys. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Peace.